Well, the Swan M2's been stripped down, and again, just like the first one, the M1, it was very easy to do. They come apart quite nicely, but it did reveal a couple of interesting things. The boiler is at the back in that Pyrex jug. It's been in the its vinegar bath now for probably about a day and a half, and the boiler was very sooty. So obviously, someone had tried to run this engine at some point fairly recently. Also, the boiler had water in it. It was probably about half full, so it had been sent to me through the post with water in the boiler, which is kind of strange, really. Not quite sure why they did that. What else? Yes, the second thing that was interesting is the piston, and I'll close in on that so you can have a look. So if I pull the piston out the cylinder, quite difficult to do. Come on, out we go. There we go. Right. You can see that the piston appears to be round the wrong way. It's a hollow piston, like it was on the M1. But you know, I'll pull the M1 piston out so we can compare the two. Right, so there's the M1 piston. So as you can see, it's asked about face. Now, obviously, you can see on the M1, the conrod is soldered into the back of the piston. Now, I don't know whether this one came off and it's been put back on the wrong way around, or whether that is the right way round. This doesn't seem right. On engines I've had with hollow pistons, normally they are like that. That's how they are normally assembled. So this, to me, doesn't really seem right. So what I'll clean all this up and see whether it has been soldered into the back there. And if it has, I'll take the conrod off and flip it around. But yeah, it's as I said, it all came apart really. The one area I couldn't get apart, and I'll show you that when we hook the boiler out of the vinegar, was the boiler retaining strap. The fitting on the boiler I couldn't remove, and I didn't want to apply too much force for it. So we'll have a look at the boiler now. Right, let's hook this out. I haven't taken this out. It's been in there for about a day and a half. Oh. Now, as you can see, it's quite black, but I haven't given this a brush yet. So I'll do that next. So empty the horrible green colour it's coming out, so it's obviously quite corroded inside the boiler. Yes, I'll give this a brush off, and as you can see, that's the strap that I couldn't remove when I tried to take the boiler fittings off. It just wouldn't come off. So we'll give that a brush and see what it comes up like. Right, I've given it a good old scrub with the brass wire brush, and we've got some serious baked on crud here, I think, as you can see. A lot of it's come off, but I'm going to leave it to soak for another day, and we'll give it another go. I'm fairly hopeful we'll be able to get most of that off. But yeah, it's obviously been, I don't know what kind of burner they've used, but it's really been really sooty, and it's really caked that on there. So yeah, we'll let that soak a little bit longer, and hopefully that will clean up. Right, well, while that's doing that, I'll get on and start cleaning up the other parts. I thought we'd address the piston first. So I've unsoldered it, and it is simply just soldered into a hole in the end of the piston, like that. And I'm convinced that the M1 one is the correct way around. The problem I've got is, when I'm soldering the two together, how do I hold it so that it stays in line? Well, this is where having a lathe just makes doing this kind of thing dead easy. So to that end, I've turned up this little collar with a hole in it. Now this will allow me to hold the conrod in place in line with the centre of the cylinder. So basically that pops in the end of the piston like that, and it's a damn good fit, but it doesn't go all the way to the bottom because we don't want to solder that into position. Then I can push the conrod through the hole in the mount, through the back of the piston, and basically position this lengthwise wherever I want, and then while it's all held in place by that fitting, I can solder it in place, and hopefully it will maintain concentricity with the piston. So that's the plan. Fingers crossed. So this is the setup I've got. I just want to put a little tiny bit of solder on there. I don't want to put too much, so let's give it a go. That should be more than enough. Literally just a dab to hold that in place. And we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll actually be able to pull the top hat bit out. Okay, there it is. The new piston and conrod, all nice and straight, I hope. That now is identical to the one in the M1, so I'm convinced that's the right way around. So that's that bit done. Okay, you're all wondering how the hell I got the brass collar off that I put on to make it concentric when I soldered it. Well, it wasn't difficult really. It was a sacrificial bit of brass there. You can see what's left of it. Basically, I just put the thing in the vise on the mill and machined it right down until it was just shy of the conrod on both sides, and then took a pair of pliers, put one side in the vise and just snapped it off, and it came clean off. So that's how I did that. Obviously this was, like I say, this is sacrificial. It was just a lump of brass out of my scrap bin. So yeah, so that's that done. Piston is done. Well, the initial stages of cleaning on the old Swan M2 are done, and that led to some quite interesting discoveries. First of all, the flywheel and the engine casting appear to be white metal, which is kind of unusual. I mean, on the M1 the engine casting was definitely brass, so that's a definite change there. The boiler cleaned up okay, but I had to attack it with some Scotch-Brite. The underside was really badly caked on soot, so I really had to work at that, but it's cleaned up okay. And the other weird thing was, previously I said I thought this engine someone had tried to run this engine recently because it was shipped to me with water in the boiler, and also there was a fresh layer of soot on the inside of the firebox and on the underside of the boiler. However, it would have been impossible to run this engine because when I was cleaning up the main steam pipe, as I do with all steam pipes, I check to make sure the pipes aren't blocked and blow some air through. This was completely and utterly blocked, that steam pipe, totally blocked. And where it was blocked was at this point here, just above where the pipe joins the valve, and I think someone has tried to resolder this and just used way too much solder, and it's got inside and blocked the pipe. So that was interesting. Now, I mean, all I did was I just ran a very small drill up through there and drilled out the blockage. Well, and it was definitely solder. The drill went through. And the other thing that's interesting about this is that if this is white metal, and I'm convinced that it is because it's very heavy, like lead, but it's soft. With a soft metal, you're not going to necessarily get a good face on this. Now, I've stoned this, and I've stoned the port face on the cylinder, but it's soft, so you're limited to sort of what kind of a good surface you can get on those things. So the next stage is I need to paint the firebox, paint the little support plinth and the flywheel and the engine casting, and obviously I've got to finish polishing up the boiler, but that's not going to happen probably for a few days because it's freezing cold here in the UK at the moment. It's way too cold to go outside and do any painting. So what else? So we still got a couple of things to make. I'm going to fabricate a chimney, and what I've done here is I've measured up the chimney on the Swan M1 and I've drawn it out as it would be if it was unfolded and laid out flat on a piece of thin card here. And I'm going to use this, stick it to a sheet of thin brass and try and fold something up like this from the thin sheet of brass. That's the plan. That's my first attempt. Probably won't work, but we'll give it a go. The base, I've got a nice bit of marine ply here, which I've cut to the size, and I've also got a skin of aluminium which I'm going to put over the top. That will be painted black. this is just the protective plastic sheet on the top of the aluminium. So that will be the base. I've still got to mark out the holes for fitting the engine casting and the firebox. But yeah, so that's well underway, and as I can't do any painting at the moment, I shall probably proceed with this.